Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to set your own Rhinestone Montees. These are Chaton Montees that we'll be setting today, and I'll just show you some of the ones that I already set for myself. This setting that I happen to be using today is a steel colored setting, and I like this one because it's going to go with the Chaton Montees that we have, which are glass. I'm using Preciosa rhinestones with this. And this is a little bit darker color metal. This is not the bright white silver, but this is going to go with stainless steel jump rings, which tend to be a little bit stronger, and they're going to be a slightly darker color than the anodized aluminum silver, which is a very bright white. Okay, but it's still a beautiful silver color. And like I said, it's going to match some of my other settings a little bit better, so that's why I opted for this one. Let me go through the tools that we're going to need. You can see that I have my Preciosa pointed back Chaton Montees here. And part of the reason for doing these yourself and for setting these yourself is sometimes you can get the crystals, but you can't get a Monte in that particular color. Maybe they're just not making them right now, or maybe they, don't really make them in the size that you need, which is the case here today. So this setting that I'm using here, okay, is a 4.2 millimeter. So that's an 18 SS crystal that'll be used, and you really cannot get a setting for this. And you certainly cannot buy Montees in this size. Nice part about this size is it's a little bit more forgiving. You can fit a little bit larger jump ring through it. And also the Monte still looks just as small as the 3.8 to 4 millimeter, which is the 16 SS. I mean, they really are imperceivable what the size difference is. But these are going to allow you to do a whole lot more. And it's just a slightly different size. The more you do chainmail with rhinestones, the more you realize that different sizes for different things. So, so that's why we're using this. So just go through some of the other tools. I bought a handy dandy tool to pick up my rhinestones with, okay? See how this is sticky? This is not the tool that I bought. This is the tool that I made out of a toothpick that cost me almost nothing. Okay, so if you're a seed beater, then you will be familiar with what I'm about to show you. This is a little thing of microcrystalline wax, okay? And it looks black here because I've been running black thread through it. But when you get this, you can see it's just wax. I've had this for a long time, so it probably has a little bit of lint on the top and things. But anyway, this is made for seed beating, but you can see you can also take a little hunk of it off with no problem. It's very sticky. And then I just used that little hunk and attached it to the tip of my toothpick. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more here, some fresh stuff. Okay, and you can keep adding to that, or you can take it off and put some fresh new stuff on. That little black bit of color isn't going to hurt anything because we're picking up glass, and it's not going to leave any residue. So anyway, this is the easiest pickup tool and probably the cheapest. So especially if you're already a seed beater and have that, that's great. I've got some little tweezers here. These were pearl knotting tweezers. They have a nice sharp tip. You don't have to have a tip that's quite this sharp, but you do want it to be nice and small on the end. I've got a little hammer here. This is a plastic hammer. The tips are plastic. This part's metal. It's got a little bit of weight to it, but you want something that's going to be very gentle when you're hitting the glass, because we're not going to be banging this. We're just going to be tapping it against our tool, okay? So you can also get hammers like this that have plastic on one side and rubber on the other side, so that's great. You've seen our little setting here, and then let me show you this is the most expensive tool that you need, but once you buy this, you're done and you can use it with everything. This is our bezel set, okay? And you can see each of the bezel setters in here has a size next to it in millimeters, and you can see that it's kind of like a cone, the bezel set is, and it comes with this little tool, so you can use this tool and you can unscrew it, put one of the settings into here, and then screw it back. I don't use this. I found it's just unnecessary, and especially if I'm setting a whole bunch of Rhinestone Montees, I just would rather pick up what I need, and I'm just tapping it with the hammer, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna set my rhinestones over here a little bit out of the way so you can see a little bit more clearly what I'm doing with setting these into the Chaton Monte. Now, I just want to show you that there are 4 holes in this. That's what makes these great. If you can see the holes on the back, see how there's a hole on each side, and that's where you can either put string through, or in my case, I'm going to be using this for chainmail, so I'm going to be putting jump rings through here. Okay, and I'm going to use my right hand. This is my dominant hand for me. If you're left-handed, you can have your toothpick in your left hand and your tweezers in your right hand. So you can do it opposite. It's not a problem. But for me, this is my right hand picking up the... Oh, that one had something on it. I've been avoiding that one for a while. Of course, as soon as I go to do a video, I pick that one up. Okay, so you see, I just barely touch it and it sticks to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get this down in the center of this, and then I'm going to bring in my tweezers. It always takes me a little practice to kind of get in flow with this. I'm going to bring in my tweezers, just knock that off. Now that one popped right off. So what I want you to notice here as I'm doing these is if the rhinestone goes in sideways. Okay, so if the edge of this rhinestone goes below the side of this setting, then it's no good, and you need to take it out, and you need to start again. So mainly, when we set these in here, we want to make sure that the edge, each of the edges, so whatever the edge is on the lower side, is not sitting below the edge of this setting. So in other words, it's not sitting below this point right here. So if it's all tilted down, you're not going to be able to fix this and adjust it. But as long as it's above this little edge here, I can pretty quickly just give it the slightest little nudge, and now that's perfectly in place. Okay, so let me just do 1 or 2 more just to show you, and I just want you to see I don't do these perfectly either. See, okay, so see that one, see how that's really tilted down into the setting? That's no good, and I'm gonna have to pick it up and start completely over again. Okay, and then I'm gonna try and get this in straight this time. Okay, so if it's all lopsided, take it completely back out and start over again. You're not going to be able to nudge it into place. But if it's just a hair off center, then you can either nudge it with your finger or you can nudge it with your tweezers, and it'll be just fine. Okay, so now we got 3 of those done, and now I'm going to show you how to actually bezel these. So you can already see this is not a hard process. I know this takes some time, and it's nicer to buy these pre-made for yourself, but like I said, the ability to get the colors that you need, especially if you make wedding jewelry and things like that, is just priceless. To be able to you know, get the findings and settings that you need, and to be able to get the rhinestones that you really want to have, because it's fairly easy to buy pointed back rhinestones and also rose Montees. Okay, so if you watch anybody else's video on this or instructions on this, if you find other tutorials, everybody tells you, I know this is a 4.2 millimeter setting. Okay, so they would tell you, oh, grab the 4 millimeter or the 4.5 millimeter bezel. Okay, this is that. And here's the problem with using the size that they're saying to use. If I put this on top of here, you see how you can still see the tips of the finding sticking out on the outside. So that's no good. That's not going to work. And I don't know why when I see instructions for this, they say to pick the size that matches what you're doing, because I actually found that I'm going to go 2 or 3 sizes larger than that. So this is actually the 6.5 millimeter bezel that I'm using. And I'm going to be able to put that on top of here. And you can see that none of these little prongs on the outside, see 1, 2, 3, 4 prongs, none of those prongs are going to be sticking out the outside of this. And because this is shaped like a cone on the inside, that's going to allow me to grab all 4 of these and make sure that all of them get turned in. Now, as I push this bezel tool down on top of this, I kind of can hear like a little bit of a crunch as the metal meets the metal. So I can kind of feel that it's on top of there and it's good and secure. I'm pushing down a little bit with my left hand here. Then I'm just going to come in with my little hammer and I'm just going to tap this a couple times. Okay, and when I tap it, I can actually feel this side going down just a little bit. It's not going to be a lot, but now what I do is now I'll bring in the correct size because the prongs are already pushed in. So I'm going to come in with now the 4.5 and I'm going to tap it a couple more times. And all that's going to do is make sure that these prongs are really set tightly up against the stone. Okay, and now I did that one pretty much perfectly, but I will tell you occasionally you get one that's offset. If you need to bang it with your hammer directly to see if it'll center itself, you can certainly do that. That's not a problem. I've done it a couple times. When you do this, you'll probably get a couple settings that you don't do quite perfect, especially when you're first starting out and learning to do this. You might have some that just aren't centered quite perfectly. So let me just do these couple more. Okay, that looks great. That's my big one. Come in with the little one, perfect it, and that one's done. Okay, and I'll do one more for you. This one almost looks like the prongs might be sticking out a little bit more. So let's see if this one works perfectly or not. Looks pretty good. This one is just slight hair off center. You see I just pushed that down into there. And that's why this one didn't get perfectly centered. But let's see. I pushed it back down into the center. And now that I did that, yeah, that's pretty good. But if it does end up off to the side, you know what? Just throw that off to the side. You can always pluck it back out later. You can pull these prongs back up and reuse your rhinestone, or you can just, have a set that is, just not for use. That just didn't work out. So you can find pointed back rhinestones in both glass as well as Preciosa and possibly still a little bit of Swarovski out there, but that's getting harder and harder to find. So you can see that I've done a bunch of these. And I know what project I'm going to make out of these Montees. So I know that I'm going to need 35. So I'm going to keep going until I have 35 of these to make my project. It's nice to use, to know specifically what you're going to make before you start making these. Because then you can just have the number of settings and rhinestones that you need out and ready to go. And, probably have maybe 4 or 5 extras around just in case you get a couple bad settings, okay? So that's all there is to setting a Chaton Monte. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we do have these supplies available. I have gotten these tool sets for you. These are available at beadmeastory.com, and I have a small selection of colors, but the colors that I have are very good colors in the Preciosa. And one more thing that I haven't mentioned to you before now that I want to mention to you. This is really important. So I have the 18SS in a couple of colors. So the 18SS means that is our pointed back Chaton Monte. Okay, Chaton means that it's a pointed back. So when I say pointed back Chaton Monte, I'm really saying it twice. So a Chaton Monte is a pointed back. So I have the Preciosa 18SS in a couple of sizes. What I also have is a 17SS. And the 17SS is going to work in here just the same way. It works great with this 4.2 setting, and it also works with the 4mm setting that I have available. So I think the 17SS are great because you can use it in the smaller or the larger setting. So you can use it in the 4mm or the 4.2mm setting just the same way. It pretty much looks the same. So don't be afraid of that, of using that kind of in-between size. I was able to get some really nice colors in it. So you can go either way. I just want you to know that that's available to you anytime you decide to set these bezels for yourself, okay? So again, all of this is available at beadmeastory.com. I hope you jump into this. Just have a great time setting your own, finding your own Chaton Montees, and doing all the colors and all the things that you really want to do yourself. Okay? Thanks so much.